Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Tusharika and I'm currently completing my MSc in counseling at Bangalore University. Today, I'm sharing my research in the Stillness Between Us, in which we explored how spirituality and relationship satisfaction are connected and why that might matter deeply for our work as counselors. Spirituality is broadly understood as a search for meaning and a connection with something greater than oneself. Pergamon describes it as the pursuit of meaning, coherence, devotion, love, and the realization of human potential. Relationship satisfaction is often defined as an individual's evaluation of their relationships, though it has predominantly been studied in the context of marital bonds. Why are these constructs important? Well, interpersonal relationships form the cornerstone of human experience, deeply influencing mental, emotional, and even physical well being. Spirituality has been linked to personal well being, coping strategies, better psychological adjustment, and interpersonal dynamics. The conceptual overlap between spiritual and relational experiences has theoretical grounding in several frameworks. Psychospiritual models posit that spirituality fosters connection, meaning, and purpose, resources which naturally extend to interpersonal domains. Gestural therapy recognizes spirituality as integral to wholeness and present moment awareness. Attachment theory too has evolved to include spiritual dimensions, suggesting that one's relationship with the divine may mirror attachment styles formed in early interpersonal experiences. Shared spiritual practices, such as prayer or rituals, have been linked to increased marital harmony and emotional intimacy. A neuroimaging study furthers this perspective, suggesting that spiritual practices engage relational neural pathways similar to those activated in close interpersonal connections. Existing literature shows that spirituality and relational bonds affect individual well being. Yet, the interplay between spirituality and relationship satisfaction remains an area with conceptual ambiguity. Many of the existing studies focus narrowly on married, heterosexual couples, thereby limiting generalizability to wider forms of interpersonal relationships. Additionally, spirituality is frequently conceptualized as a static trait or external resource, often rooted in religious frameworks, rather than as a dynamic, bidirectional process that both influences and is influenced by relationship satisfaction. There is a paucity of studies examining diverse relational forms, including friendships, familial bonds, and chosen families, and the reciprocal nature of spirituality and relationship well being. Moreover, few studies are situated within non Western cultural contexts, where relational satisfaction may be interpreted through different social and spiritual lenses. Taken together, these gaps underscore the need to examine interpersonal relationships more inclusively, determining whether similar spiritual relational dynamics occur across diverse relational contexts. This exploratory study investigates the association between spirituality and interpersonal relationship satisfaction in a general adult population, moving beyond the narrow focus of previous research on romantic partnerships. It aimed to explore whether individuals with higher spirituality report greater relationship satisfaction, and conversely, whether higher satisfaction is linked to greater spirituality, while remaining open to associations in either direction. In doing so, it addresses existing gaps concerning diversity in relational types, reciprocal influence, and broader sociocultural applicability. Additionally, the study examines whether this relationship is shaped by demographic factors such as age, gender, sex, sexuality, ethnicity, and nationality, offering a more inclusive and context sensitive understanding of how spirituality and interpersonal satisfaction may intertwine. The eligibility criteria for the study was for participants to be 18 years or older. 130 participants participated in this study. They were recruited using opportunity sampling, meaning they were drawn from available sources through institutions and online networks across different countries. This study used a cross sectional design, which means all data was collected at one point in time, looking at two main continuous variables: spirituality and relationship satisfaction. Demographic factors such as age, sex, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, and nationality were included as control variables to see if they influence the results. The entire study was conducted online using SciToolkit, which is an accessible digital platform for psychological research. Two well established validated questionnaires, the spirituality scale and the relationship satisfaction scale, were used for measuring the constructs in a clear, structured manner. After the data was cleaned, we analyzed the completed dataset of 105 participants. Pearson correlation was used to assess if spirituality and relationship satisfaction are correlated. In addition, regression analyses were conducted to explore whether one variable could significantly predict the other. Descriptive statistics were calculated to summarize demographic characteristics and to examine the distribution of the key variables. Moderation analyses were performed to examine whether demographic characteristics like age, sex, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, and nationality influence the relationship between spirituality and relationship satisfaction. These analyses were conducted bidirectionally, treating each of the two key variables alternately as a dependent and independent variable. Our results revealed a weak positive correlation at 0.215 between spirituality and interpersonal relationship satisfaction, which was statistically significant, suggesting that higher spirituality is associated with slightly higher relationship satisfaction. We ran two regression analyses to explore whether spirituality and relationship satisfaction could predict one another, and both results were statistically significant. In the first model, we tested whether relationship satisfaction predicts spirituality. The analysis showed that for every 1 unit increase in relationship satisfaction, spirituality increased by 0.448 units. In the second model, we reversed the direction, testing whether spirituality predicts relationship satisfaction. Here, for every 1 unit increase in spirituality, relationship satisfaction increased by 0.103 units. So, the results indicate a bidirectional relationship. Each variable predicts the other to a small but meaningful extent. Based on this, we can say that the data supports our hypotheses. Spirituality scores showed a clear upward trend with age, rising from a mean of 92 at age 18 to 132 at age 52. In contrast, relationship satisfaction scores varied across age groups without a consistent pattern. Women reported higher average spirituality than men, while both groups had similar levels of relationship satisfaction. Men showed more variation in spirituality scores, and women showed more variation in relationship satisfaction. Non-binary and self-identified participants showed wide score ranges, but due to small sample sizes, these findings could not be interpreted in detail. Scores varied across sexual orientation groups. Asexual and straight participants reported the highest average scores on both variables. Gay participants reported lower average spirituality and relationship satisfaction scores, with a wide range of responses. Bisexual and undisclosed participants had moderate scores with broader variability. These differences suggest that experiences of spirituality and relational satisfaction may vary notably across sexual orientation groups. Asian participants reported high spirituality and relationship satisfaction, suggesting a strong link between the two for this group. White participants showed slightly lower spirituality but similar relationship satisfaction. Mixed participants also reported high scores on both variables, while Black and Arab participants showed lower averages. But due to the small sample sizes for these groups, these results could not be interpreted further. Indian and Albanian participants showed high spirituality and relationship satisfaction, while British English participants had lower spirituality but similar satisfaction. Overall, spirituality varied more by nationality than relationship satisfaction, though small group sizes limit firm conclusions. A regression analysis showed that age and relationship satisfaction significantly predict spirituality. For every 1 point increase in satisfaction, spirituality rose by 0.44 points, and for every additional year of age, it rose by 0.42 points. This model explained 18% of the variance in spirituality. Other demographic factors, however, were not significant predictors. In the second regression model, spirituality predicted relationship satisfaction. For every 1 point increase in spirituality, relationship satisfaction rose by 0.11 points. However, the overall model wasn't statistically strong and explained only 8% of the variance, meaning other demographic factors added very little value. In the final model, we found that age significantly moderated the link between spirituality and relationship satisfaction. As age increased, the connection between the two grew stronger. The model was highly significant and explained 87.3% of the variance in spirituality. The study explored the relationship between spirituality and interpersonal relationship satisfaction. Results showed a statistically significant but small positive correlation, and both regression models confirmed that the association was bidirectional, that spirituality predicts relationship satisfaction, and vice versa, although the effect size in both directions was modest. This suggests that while neither construct is a dominant driver, they may mutually reinforce each other over time. The idea that spirituality offers a framework for coherence and growth, whether through meaning making, inner adversity, or through relationships that mirror inner development, aligns with Frankel's emphasis on meaning in the human experience, and Jung's belief that our relational experiences often reflect inner psychological processes. So, in practice, close relationships might not only fulfill emotional needs, they may also support spiritual integration and development. Psychosynthesis, which views spirituality not as a separate dimension but as one integrated within the full spectrum of human development, also supports our findings. It posits that relationships offer fertile ground for soul making, where relational intimacy fosters self awareness and transcendence. In this light, spirituality and relationship satisfaction may co evolve over time, each deepening the other. Age emerged as a significant moderator in the relationship between spirituality and relationship satisfaction, with older participants reporting higher levels of spirituality. This pattern aligns with research suggesting that spirituality tends to increase with age as individuals encounter existential questions, life transitions, or shifts in values. Such findings are consistent with the lifespan development model of spirituality, which views later life as a stage of integration, transcendence, and legacy building. These results also resonate with the socio emotional selectivity theory, which suggests that as people age, they become more selective in their relationships and more focused on emotionally meaningful experiences, potentially increasing the spiritual weight they assign to close connections. Relationship satisfaction itself did not vary significantly with age, though, suggesting that while spiritual outlooks may evolve, relationships may be influenced by more nuanced variables, such as attachment styles, relationship quality, or personal history, that shape satisfaction beyond chronological age. Gendered patterns in spirituality and interpersonal satisfaction also emerged in the findings. Women reported higher average levels of spirituality compared to men, a trend frequently observed in the literature and often attributed to socialization practices that encourage relational awareness and emotional expression among women. However, while women reported higher spirituality, relationship satisfaction scores were more evenly distributed across genders, suggesting that the link between spirituality and relationship satisfaction is not necessarily stronger for one gender than another. Instead, this may highlight that while spiritual expression varies across gendered lines, the desire for relational depth and meaning is more universally shared. It is also important to consider how gender norms may affect the willingness or ability to express spirituality in socially sanctioned ways. Men, for instance, may experience greater stigma around emotional vulnerability or non material beliefs, especially in cultures where traditional masculinity norms discourage spiritual or relational openness, which can lead to underreporting or internal conflict that may not be fully captured in self report measures. LGBTQ plus participants, particularly those identifying as gay, reported the lowest average levels of both spirituality and relationship satisfaction. While this finding must be interpreted cautiously due to the small sample size, it does echo the literature showing that LGBTQ plus individuals often encounter spiritual exclusion or religious trauma, potentially limiting both spiritual engagement and relational affirmation. When spirituality is framed through inclusive, affirming narratives, it can serve as a vital source of identity, resilience, and belonging. However, when it is tied to doctrines that condemn or exclude, it can lead to shame, alienation, or loss of spiritual connection. Asian participants reported the highest levels of spirituality, which may reflect collectivistic cultural orientations where spirituality and familial values are closely linked. In collectivistic contexts, interpersonal relationships are often interwoven with spiritual values that emphasize family loyalty, community harmony, and moral duty. Participants from individualistic societies may approach spirituality as a more autonomous, internal pursuit, yet this does not diminish its relational significance. In such contexts, spirituality may be seen as a personal resource that supports self growth, emotional resilience, and ethical living, qualities that can strengthen one's relationships over time. Western philosophies of spiritual well being often emphasize authenticity, emotional presence, and personal meaning in connection with others, all of which contribute to healthy relational bonds. Now, moving on to some important considerations around the limitations of this study and where future research could build further. While the findings offer valuable insights into the relationship between spirituality and relationship satisfaction, there are several methodological and contextual limitations that need to be acknowledged. These are common in exploratory cross sectional research, but they do affect how sure we can be about what the research results really mean. Because the study was cross sectional, we found associations, but we cannot determine causality. Longitudinal or experimental designs are needed to explore directionality. Participant responses may have been influenced by social desirability or personal interpretation, especially given the personal nature of spirituality. Although the Delaney and Burns scales are validated, they may not fully capture the cultural and subjective nuances of spirituality and relationship satisfaction. These are deeply individual experiences, and future research should consider qualitative methods alongside quantitative tools. While the overall sample was diverse, subgroup sizes, such as non binary, Black, Chinese, and LGBTQ participant groups, were too small for statistical conclusions. This highlights the need for more inclusive sampling strategies. The study also included participants from multiple countries but did not provide culturally specific mental health resources in the debrief. Future research should ensure ethical care for international participants as well. Looking ahead, future research should use longitudinal and mixed methods approaches. These could help track how spirituality and relationships change over time and add depth through personal narratives. It's also important to explore intersectionality in more detail, looking at how culture, religion, socioeconomic status, and health related factors influence the way people experience spirituality and relationships. Finally, greater attention should be given to relational diversity in future research, exploring whether spirituality supports relationship satisfaction differently in family bonds, friendships, romantic partnerships, or chosen families. This can contribute to a richer and more inclusive body of literature. Together, these directions may foster a deeper, more nuanced understanding of the interplay between spirituality and the human need for meaningful connection. In a time when loneliness is increasingly recognized as a public health concern with significant psychological and physiological consequences, exploring the potential of spirituality to foster meaningful connections becomes especially relevant. Research indicates that clients often wait for counselors to introduce the topic of spirituality before feeling safe or validated enough to explore it themselves, highlighting the therapist's role in initiating spiritually sensitive dialogue. Literature supports that integrating spirituality can enrich the therapeutic process by offering deeper frameworks for clients to understand and improve their relationships, and that acknowledging spiritual beliefs in therapy fosters a stronger therapeutic alliance. However, this requires both sensitivity and competence in spiritual matters, underscoring the importance of continued professional development and training in this area. Nonetheless, there are ethical risks in addressing spirituality in counseling, including maintaining competence, avoiding dual relationships, respecting client diversity, ensuring informed consent, and seeking supervision when needed. While the study doesn't provide definitive answers, it achieves its goal of opening space for deeper conversations about how we connect with ourselves, with others, and with something greater than ourselves. By identifying a modest but meaningful link between spirituality and relationship satisfaction, it highlights the value of continued exploration into how these experiences intersect across different populations and contexts. At its core, the study reflects a quiet insight that our spiritual and relational longings may stem from the same human desire to belong. Thank you for being here and sharing this with me today. I value the dynamic and evolving nature of these constructs, and I genuinely welcome your reflections. To start us off, has spirituality shaped how you understand your relationships? Have your relationships or your satisfaction within them ever influenced your spiritual beliefs? Perhaps you've supported clients whose stories echo or even challenge these findings. And how comfortable do you feel bringing spirituality into the therapy space? Please feel free to share your thoughts or experiences. I'd love to hear them and continue the conversation. If you're interested, the references I've drawn on throughout this presentation are available on the next slide.